I'm going to start out with just kind of a general statement on the team on something I liked. And that to me is, I guess, that general statement of character, mental strength, whatever you want to say, that it factor with this team of despite it being a preseason game and, it not really mattering for anything standing wise or anything like that. This game was looking pretty bleak for a while. The offense wasn't really moving, and then all of a sudden the offense started firing. Matt Barkley comes out, he's throwing bombs. The defense kind of plays off that, and they stiffen up, and they're getting big stops. And for what it's worth, in a pointless preseason game, they dug their feet in and came away and snatched this one away from the Colts, albeit in a dramatic fashion, last second field goal. But even at that, the last 2 minutes, there was clock control. There was just a really effective 2 minute drill to kind of take any chance the Colts had away from it, salt away the clock, and just finish the game with nothing in doubt except for a Bass field goal going through. So I guess that's my first major thing that I liked, kind of a blanket kudos to the team. So I did kind of like an offensive player of the game, defensive player of the game, as things I liked. And for me on offense, it started it started leaning towards Matt Barkley. He ended up having a really good day. But Khalil Shakir, I've been so excited to see this dude in action. And when we're talking about a guy that, kind of starts the year probably a little bit buried on the depth chart, this is the type of guy that I'm looking for. 2-3 years down the line, do we need him to have a significant role? And then I see what he comes out and does tonight in game action. He catches all five of the balls thrown his way, goes for 92 yards, averaging 18 yards per catch, and had a little toe drag swag on the sideline. And just overall, he was getting separation. He was making the most of his opportunities. And I don't really know what else to say about this young man, except I was very excited that we were able to snag him in the fifth round. We talked about it on the draft show. I was clamoring for him from round 3 and beyond. So to be able to pick him up in the fifth round and the impact that I think he has the chance of making on this team even in year one, it's kind of making me a little bit reminiscent of Gabe Davis of, there was so much talk of, is Gabe Davis really good, or is he a product of being this fourth receiver and the guys in front of him, or is that just creating opportunities? And I think he's kind of put that talk to rest. But also, I don't care if Shakir can come in as the number 4 receiver and have that Gabe Davis like impact, because guys like Davis and Diggs are commanding the attention, and he pops off and has a big game. I think that's just the next step in the evolution of this offense. Defensively, Balin Spector, 7th round pick from the Bills, kind of an afterthought to me when I was watching that game tonight. And there's some honorable mentions for this. But every time I see a tackle being made, I see a defensive play being made, Balin Spector was in the mix. There was one play in particular. They were running the ball, and there's this wide open hole, and Spector had this read and react, and he shed his block and then just squared up in the hole. And that run looked to me like it was going to go for about 15, 20 yards. And he just got right off that block and stuffed the run right in the hole. He had a couple really good pass pressures. He had a would-be sack that was called back on a really strange penalty. I forgot the wording of it, but it was like an illegal block from the defense, which I've watched a lot of football in my life, and I don't think I've ever seen that flag thrown. But that one right there, backbreaker, and ended up keeping the drive alive. But he was still chasing down the quarterback, and I believe it was still Nick Foles at the time. It would have been like a 20-yard loss, and honestly, he looked fast getting back there. So probably a guy that we won't see a ton throughout the year, but for a team that, who's going to be the AJ Klein replacement and whatnot, I'll tell you what, for a one-game sample size, Bale Inspector looked the part of what we had from AJ Klein, kind of a run-stopping linebacker, and when they send him on a blitz, he's going straight after the quarterback. He looked great tonight. Zach Moss, I thought, flashed a little bit tonight in very limited work. He broke off the 27-yard run on the first drive of the game. Ended up with a total of 3 carries for 37 yards, and he's a guy that Bills Mafia has been a little bit down on. I've seen a lot from Zach Moss, and he had some of the most, difficult situations coming in his first couple of years in the league. You're talking about, a COVID season, messed up off season, training camps all different and jumbled. How hard of a transition it's got to be to the NFL to start with. Then last year, battling some significant injuries. And Zach Moss is like a perfect complement in this offense. You got Singletary, kind of that little jack-of-all-trades running back. You add James Cook to, possibly be a little bit more of the pass-catching speed guy, and Zach Moss just banging you in between the tackles. So I've been really excited to see what he looks like fully healthy and, dropping his shoulder through people like, we expected from him coming out of Utah. So really excited to see what his next step looks like in this offense. Isaiah Hodgins, kind of a similar path with Zach Moss of, battling a lot of training camp injuries, looking great through the spring and then having an injury setback and, not able to really make his mark. And I'll tell you what, he looked good tonight. 9 catches on 11 targets, 77 yards. And what I really liked about his game today was his ability to catch the ball in traffic. And I think it was Tasker said something on the play-by-play of, he kind of has to be that guy because he doesn't, get great separation. Well, if he can make the plays in traffic like he was making tonight, maybe that's not the most important thing for him right now because we do have separators on the team. And, he was really kind of a possession receiver tonight. And he also had a 27-yard bomb from Barkley in the fourth quarter that set up the Blackshear touchdown that put us within 1 score. So I thought he had a great game tonight, and something that just complicates this wide receiver room even more. We're already talking about, the top 4 or 5 spots are pretty solidified. How many receivers are the Bills going to keep? I don't know. But a game or two more like this from Hodgins, and there's going to be some difficult decisions being made there.